about what's important. The night of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump, I came out of work teary-eyed as my dad told me that he had been shot. I feel like I want to hide under a rock. I don't want to come out. It's ignited like PTSD in all of us. We feel creeped out as to what this country has become. We're creeped out. I'm not afraid to speak anymore. New arrivals that are roaming the track. And I'm aware of the prices of groceries. I'm aware of the prices of gas and the inflation and the fact that I have to watch myself every minute in today's society if there's a person that's following me. The open borders that we now have and the crime that's come into the country. What I can say is on November 5th, I will be waking up bright and early and I will be voting for Donald Trump. I don't have anyone to talk to in Miami-Dade County, Miami, where I live, about anything that is important. Current events, important issues in the world. I feel very alone living here. I'm born and raised here. I'm diverse. I'm ethnic. It's very difficult to come across people where you can hold an intellectual conversation with. Occasionally you do find a few, and sometimes these few surprise you, but there's no one to talk to here. Today is my day off and I'm headed out. I'm in my car that doesn't have air conditioning. With the rising cost of inflation, groceries, the cost of gas, I, like a lot of other Americans, have cut back on repairing things. If something needed to be repaired in my apartment or something needs to be repaired with the car, I'm not paying for these things because I have to allocate that money towards groceries, towards being able to afford a small amount of gas to get to work, and luckily my job is not far from me. I know people around me within my circle, even though I don't have a lot of people to communicate about things in an intellectual way, some are starting to vocalize about the cost of gas, cost of groceries. Some of them have to drive far for work. Luckily, I'm not one of those, but I'm still cognizant of the cost of the gas when I do have to fill up. I bring my own food out as much as I can, and a lot of times I'm criticized on this channel for doing that, again, because the money has to go elsewhere. I have people on my channel, they will gaslight and they will say things on my channel. The cost of groceries, this is what one person said, are no more expensive than they were in the 60s. It's like, if you're going to gaslight, get a book. Get a book on how to gaslight or something, because you, no offense, you suck at it. My days off are spent figuratively as well as monetarily very economically, as economically as I can. I don't do things. I don't go anywhere. My car's air conditioning doesn't work, but if it did, I'd spend the gas and the time and the money, for example, once in a while going up to Boca. I can't do that anymore. Number one, the air. And number two, I wouldn't want to spend the money on the gas that it would take to go to Boca and back. So I do things that are considered like, this is what you're doing on your day off. Yeah, this is what I'm doing on my day off, because your day off has become, I just wake up and I breathe, basically, and try not to spend that much money while still having somewhat of a day out. I am, still in the category of the common working class. I work in retail. I am educated. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and I work in retail. I enjoy my job, but the economy is not good. And jobs that are amazing jobs do not exist. They do not exist. And I am aware of the cost of groceries, the cost of gas. The thought of moving to a new place and money from a property to move somewhere else and what the cost of a mortgage would be. I am aware of all of these factors. I am not glued or married to South Florida. I can see myself living. One of the places I'm interested in is Orlando. I find it to be an attractive place to live, also because I know there's a large amount of veterans that live in Orlando. I'm looking at places like Tennessee. I'm looking at places like North Carolina. I'm starting to be more open-minded to places that I could go in the future. Is this something that's happening in the immediate next couple months? Probably not, but I'm starting to delve into doing the research of where I can go, where I can be happier. 15 years ago, when I was in Dade County, there was still no one to talk to. Sometimes you would come across the elderly community, and with time, unfortunately, the elderly community is no longer with us, or they moved to another state. And that was a lot of what made up South Florida. The Canadians that would come here for the winter, and the elderly that have been here in South Florida forever. And those are the people that you kind of held conversations with of cultural events and things that are happening in the news. That is not the majority anymore of South Florida. South Florida is, on a good day, South Florida is a bottle service industry. I found that my salvation of the mind came from years ago, lingering and spending more time on college campuses that I was a student at, and spending excess amount of time there in order to try to be amongst people that were intellectual. We are in Aventura, Florida, and I'm going to be going over to what I forever will call the Fairmont, even though it's not called that anymore, the hotel across the street, to sit and have a cup of coffee. It's one of the few locations here, especially in this particular area, that tends to get some business people from not necessarily the community, but actually out of state, who will then come here for conventions. And it's this last grip of you're trying to hold on to the intellectual crowd that really is not the majority anymore of South Florida.
Flies the flag.
In the last week, we had the Copa Games here in Miami, Florida. And the night of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump, I came out of work teary-eyed as my dad told me that he had been shot. And I left work and I walked amongst the crowds of people that were sitting in the food court watching. The footage was on the screens. The screens, there were these large television sets that were set up in the food court for the intent of the crowds of the mall watching the Copa Games. And they were showing on Spanish television that what had occurred at the rally. And even though the footage was in Spanish, I would say 1 out of a couple thousand people that were in the food court happened to stroll by and took a quick glimpse at it. The general populace here in South Florida is just not interested. The general person here didn't have an interest in the world as to what was happening in the United States at the moment. It was just such a contrast to watch the majority of people watching soccer statistics on their phone while a great deal of the United States watched what was happening with current events in the United States. This is not coming from a perspective of racism or something like that. I am half Spanish. But I was troubled by the fact that I'm in the food court and you've just had this unbelievable assassination attempt and this miracle that he is still alive. And no one cared. The next day, I think I happened to be off, if I'm remembering the timeline correctly. And that was the Copa, I want to say that the next day was the Copa finale. Whereas a great deal of probably other places in the United States was rattled by what had occurred. And people have been vocalizing, a lot of young people too, like I feel like I want to hide under a rock. I don't want to come out. It's ignited like PTSD in all of us. We feel creeped out as to what this country has become. We're creeped out. I don't have anyone to hold, hardly anyone to hold an intellectual conversation with. Some of my people in my inner circle have started to cautiously start to communicate about their views at a very slow rate, because we've been told that if you do, you will be canceled about what's important. Every once in a while at this resort here, which I will forever call the Fairmont, you get these conventions that come to town from outside states where business people come here, which is very few, and it's occasionally throughout the year, and you want to be around it. You see them walking with their, their cards, they're part of some convention, and you're desperate to be around some sort of intellectual people to hold a conversation with. I'm focused a lot more on having patriotism, and finding others who do as well. That's why, quite honestly, I want to live in a place where, Orlando would be a good example. Veterans, people to communicate with. Then I'm here at the Starbucks. There's, two old timers that are behind me, and they're talking about current events, but it's not enough. There's no one to hold an intellectual conversation with here about current events, and I'm desperate to have that. We will share the burrito with the dada. Say hello. Hello. Burrito. No. So I just left Starbucks, and there were these two old timers in Starbucks, one of which I actually recognized, talking a little bit about the economy, politics, their condo that's being hit with assessments, how they want to move, where they can move to, what the tax rate of the new place they move to will be. I mean, people are talking, and I'm desperate to have an intellectual conversation with someone. It's something that is a rarity living in South Florida. Headed inside the Fairmont, as I will call it, for a few minutes. And I'm at the Fairmont, and I'm still gonna call it a Fairmont. And I honestly, in the long run, I want to move. I'm not really happy here. I don't have anyone to talk to here. I walk around in silence here because there's no one to talk to. So I'm at the hotel. That was the Starbucks we were just at. And then right there is a gym that is part of the hotel, but everyday people can join it. Obviously, I have a suspicion it's going to be too expensive for me to join, so that's number one. Number two issue with it is that hotel guests are going to be a chunk of your people going in and out. And three, the people of the community, which was the reason I was interested in joining, to be able to be part of a gym where you're maybe a part of a little bit more of an exclusive community with more intellectuals. Again, part of this community that I grew up with. In reality, they're all elderly. They're all elderly or middle-aged women, and probably don't even use their gym membership. So I'm mentioning it because I'm desperate to try to find a way to assimilate with intellectuals while I am in South Florida and I'm failing. Do I go and hang out at UM? I'm allowed to. I graduated from there. In reality, that's very far and very out of the way, and I don't have a car that has air conditioning, so that's out. But I'm desperate to have an intellectual conversation, to surround myself with the scraps and the remnants of where I could find intellectual people here in South Florida. Interestingly, the crowd at Equinox probably actually is some of the remnants of the more intellectual people of what's left in South Florida. The flaw with that being that a lot of them are not too well in the head. To join a gym where every person in the gym is a middle-aged woman that very well may be a professional or was married to a professional, but the environment is not good because it's bitter, it's sour, it's not a mentally healthy environment. It's not the right fit. But I'm desperate to be around intellectual people. I feel very alone living in Miami. I don't think you have to guess who I'm voting for. I think you know the answer to that. So now we walk across the street now. You have to pick the right time to walk on this track. This track is part of the history of Aventura. So the track runs all of Aventura like a big circle, basically. And you used to be able to walk on this track no problem any time of the day. And I'm going to be honest with you, you have to stay in this part of the track, the part that's directly in front of the hotel, the part connected to the mall. Once you get to the other side of the loop, you're very isolated. There's not a lot of places where to go. It's only condos back there, and you have to really kind of make your way back here. And I'm going to be honest with you, there are new arrivals that are roaming the track, and you don't want to be a female alone on this track encountering one of the new arrivals in one of the isolated areas. It's not going to go well. I'm going to be honest with you. It's probably something they don't want me to say in Aventura. You got at least 50 of them walking around the mall at one given time. These are very unwell people. These are not, in other words, just part of your homeless community. These are men alone. They follow women. They follow them into department stores. They're talking to themselves. They're punching the air. These are not well individuals. Oh, and there's one there. You're walking the track and you're encountering men alone on the track. These are not people that are working out. These are, people that are unwell. And you don't want to be encountering this as a female alone. I'm not afraid to speak anymore. In the 2016 election, I actually did not vote either way. I would say I, in a way, probably actually fell into listening to some of the liberal indoctrination that was on the news at the time. And I ended up not voting either way. And I remember when I was in my class, I was in grad school at the time. It was a small class, and it came up and I said, I'm not voting for Hillary. And the class got visibly angry. And then I calmed them down and I said, but I'm not voting for him either. And then they were okay with that, but not really. And that was a mistake. I should have voted for him back then. I'm actually a registered Republican. And, I hold some liberal views, but on a majority of the issues that are, I think, the most important to people right now, what we're seeing happening to the country, free immigration into the country, the inflation, the economy, I hold Republican views on those things. And I want to see the country get back into a good place where I also have participated, where I'm at the grocery store and I have in the past. I try not to do it so much right now because I don't feel like it's good for manifestation, but in the past I have put things back at the grocery store, taken it out of the cart and said this is going to be too expensive. And even now at the grocery store I limit myself. I don't eat as healthy and well as I could or should be. And I want to see the country get back into a good place financially, and not a lot of the rhetoric that we're seeing right now. In the 2020 election, I voted for Trump. And in the 2024 election, I will be voting for Trump. This is a very honest channel. I'm not going to hide it. Cancel culture is over.
God, you're not in public. You're not in people.
I didn't even plan that, but I am encountering men who are essentially new arrivals. These are not even your normal homeless people of America. These are individuals that appear to be very unwell. I have to always basically be with someone. I would never go into a department store or a store alone. I would not walk this track alone. I would not walk outside the mall here alone, as you always could. I used to take walks here alone on the track and then walk into the mall and have lunch. Can't do that anymore. These areas now, which, yes, they were always isolated. This is an isolated area, you know, where the parking area is. Now is certainly not safe as anyone alone, but a female alone, it would not be safe. It was never like this here. I started to see it get worse here probably in the last year. Over the last 4 or 5 months, it became very bad here. It's not at the point yet of what you see in New York, but because this area is such a small knit area, and yes, it's very overpopulated, but still a small little community, it's a problem. You have to really know your area. Because I grew up here, I know my area, I know where I am. You can't go certain places at the mall during certain hours. Like certain corridors and areas are going to be abandoned. Others not so much. You don't want to find yourself in an area where you find yourself isolated with one of these people. I have watched the safety of the overall area of where I live deteriorate. There are newcomers all over the place. They follow you through department stores. It's not safe to walk the track anymore. I'm tired of putting things back at times in the grocery stores, watching every dollar I'm spending at the grocery store, the inflation. We're over at the E-Bar now, and I got an iced coffee for us to share. We shared a sandwich at Starbucks that I had some money on my app for. And now we brought leftover cake and dessert from Dada's birthday. But the cake is better than anything in the mall anyhow, so. Yeah, there are a lot of people you need to be aware of, even in the mall. You have to be aware of your own surroundings and stop letting people gaslight you. That doesn't make you a bad person, to be aware of your surroundings. It makes you have a brain. I don't know that the answer is I know when the immediate incident occurred, I felt scared. A lot of people have verbalized that they feel like hiding under a rock. So I'm gonna go into Macy's now to shop. The first floor is pretty safe. Second floor, as you start to go in towards the back with the dressing rooms and where the sale section is not safe. You need to be with someone. I remember there was a time where I was actually followed in the store by a newcomer that I was actually unaware of their presence around me. And then when they spotted my dad, they disappeared. As I'm walking now from the E-Bar to Macy's, I have passed newcomer who was insane, out of their mind, having an entire conversation with themselves. And I didn't want to believe that this was going to happen to this mall in this area, but it has happened to this mall in this area. It's not the extent of New York, but it has happened here. I have $10 to spend. That's back to the economy portion. $10 coupon. I need to find something to buy with my $10. So we're off to the sales section. Again, you can see how abandoned it is here. You need to have someone with you because I've had friends following me in this section. This was actually the spot I was when I realized I was being followed. I was standing like right there and he was like right here. And there you go, an abandoned dressing room. And then all of a sudden he realized my dad was here. And yes, this was one of your new arrivals. So I had a $10 coupon, and that's how you should be shopping no matter what, but also with inflation and everything now. So I had a $10 coupon because I always shop at Macy's that I built up. So I got 3 items from the last act sale section. One Levi's top was like regularly $70. It rung up at under $5, like $4 and something. Another Levi's jacket shirt, same thing, regularly $70, rang up at $4 and something. And then some weird top, I think by Karen Scott. It's really weird looking and it's kind of repulsive, but that's why I love it. And I don't really know how much that was regularly, but that was also $5. So the difference I paid was $5.39, including tax. That's how you should shop always, not just with inflation. Now I will show you the items. There's my goodies here, and I will show you all 3 items quickly because I do need to pee. Item 1, which is, I admit, hideous. That's why I love it. Was returned, apparently. I don't know, reticketed. It was like an extra large entity. It was $5. I got this very oversized Levi's shirt jacket, $5. It's a little drop big, even with being oversized, but too good of a deal to pass up. This top, again, $5. Kind of a shirt jacket type of deal by Levi's also, but thinner material, $5. Not sure if I own this already. If I do, oh well. But the difference was $5. And you're talking about $200 worth of clothing that I spent $5 for. That's how you shop. That's how you should be shopping. So I just got out of the Macy's here, and again, I think I'm actually manifesting this stuff. There was a man up in the women's section of the sale section, looking around, wandering around, eyeing the different women. And you know, the gaslighters in my comments are going to be like, how do you know this was just not a man that was shopping or looking for someone in his family? How do we know when we see certain individuals that certain individuals are what they are or are different things? We know. We have brains. Okay, we're not going to play that gaslighting game. And I would have caught a image of him, but this particular person was probably so serious that I needed to be more concerned with getting down the escalator. He ended up behind me and getting out of the store. Again, you wouldn't have wanted to have been alone there in that section with these people. I mean, it's horrifying. For a while, I didn't want to believe, I think, how I didn't want to think that what was happening to New York was going to happen here in South Florida. But it has. It has. Maybe not to the extent of New York, but it has. What I can say is that I am a hardworking person. I'm a hardworking millennial. I went to college. I went to grad school. I got a master's degree. I work full time, and I am very well aware the prices of groceries, the prices of gas. I'm aware the prices of groceries. I'm aware of the prices of gas and the inflation and the fact that I have to watch myself every minute in today's society if there's a person that's following me due to the nature of the country, the open borders that we now have and the crime that's come into the country. What I can say is on November 5th, I will be waking up bright and early and I will be voting for Donald Trump for President of the United States. I am a millennial, I'm educated, and these are my views and the views of the beauty of being someone in America is that we can disagree and we can disagree peacefully. You're allowed to go into the voting center and vote for whoever you want to vote. I am voting for Trump. I want to see this country improve. I want to, and I'm hopeful that if he's elected, that a year from now it will be more affordable to get a mortgage, that it will be more affordable purchasing groceries and filling up the car with gas, and that you could just function better. Because right now, the average American can't afford anything in this country. I want to speak more honestly on this channel. And that was always the purpose of this channel. And I've found that in this channel.
And that the crime rate went down.
The crime rate is terrible. I am voting for Trump. It was a good day today. Again, a very economical day. I didn't spend that much money. And yeah. And tomorrow I have work. And hope to get this edited as soon as possible onto my channel. It may take a few days to edit it properly. But thank you for watching. And feel free to comment. If you don't agree with me, that is okay. We're supposed to be allowed in this country to peacefully voice our opinions. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to vote for whoever you want to. But thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you all, and I will see you soon in my next video, and bye.